What if the loudest thing you could ever say is nothing at all? What if real strength is not in defending yourself, not in explaining your pain, but in withdrawing so completely that your absence becomes louder than any words you could speak? He gave her everything, his loyalty, his laughter, his softest truths whispered in the dark, and she crushed it without hesitation, as if it meant nothing. And when she left, the world collapsed around him. Nights bled into mornings. Silence was a blade twisting in his chest. He wanted to scream. He wanted to rage. He wanted her to see the wreckage she caused. But then came the shift, the moment his mind sharpened like steel. He realized no amount of pleading could change what had already died. That words, once wasted, become chains. And so he chose the one thing she never expected: silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of rebirth. He didn't announce his pain. He buried it deep, like a weapon being forged in secret. No cryptic posts, no attempts to prove his worth, no final message begging for closure. Just nothing, because nothing is terrifying. Nothing leaves her wondering if she ever mattered at all. This is the beginning of his transformation. This is the moment he stops being the man she left and begins becoming the man she will never get back. If you're done seeking validation from people who could never see your value, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence is my power. Number 1. Collapse. Quietly, not publicly. When heartbreak strikes, the urge to explode is primal. The mind spins in chaos, desperate to be seen, desperate to be heard. You want her to know you're shattered. You want her to see the wreckage she left behind, the sleepless nights, the shaking hands, the hollow silence swallowing your days. You want the world to know that something sacred was broken inside you. But here's the truth. Emotional spectacle is self-destruction dressed up as catharsis. Every outburst is a confession of weakness. Every rant, every late-night post, every desperate message becomes proof that she still has power over you. And power is the one thing you cannot afford to give away. So he does the opposite. He vanishes. He lets the collapse happen in silence, behind closed doors, where no one can witness the unraveling. No public breakdowns, no tear-stained stories, no drunken confessions. He bleeds in solitude, because real strength is built where no one is watching. The Stoics understood this. Pain loses its grip when you refuse to make it a performance. By staying silent, he denies her the ego boost of knowing she still controls his emotions. She gets no proof of her importance, no drama, no closure, just silence. And that silence becomes unsettling. It leaves questions hanging in her mind. Did he move on already? Does he even care? Was she ever as unforgettable as she believed? The absence becomes louder than any cry could ever be, and as he suffers alone, something profound happens. His pain stops being weakness and becomes fuel. He channels the chaos inward. He builds walls within his mind, not to keep the world out, but to keep himself intact. He begins to see the heartbreak not as an ending, but as the birthplace of his new self. Because when you collapse quietly, you deny the world your vulnerability, and that is where your power begins. Number 2, starve her of your energy. After silence comes the blackout. Most men think they need to win her back by proving their worth, posting gym selfies, flaunting fake happiness, trying to spark jealousy. But that's still feeding her. Attention is currency, and every post, every glance, every reaction is a deposit into her ego. So he gives her nothing, no likes, no comments, no messages, no signs of life. He becomes a ghost in her world, an echo she can't quite reach. This is not pettiness, it's precision. Because energy is power, and the moment you stop giving her yours, she starts to wonder where it went. At first, she feels relief, then confusion, then a creeping unease as the silence grows heavier. People expect chaos from heartbreak, tears, anger, messy emotional noise. When none of it comes, the human mind begins to panic. It needs closure, and when none is given, it creates its own. That's the dark psychology behind withdrawal. Silence forces the other mind to fill in the gaps, and their imagination will torment them far worse than your words ever could. While she scrolls, checking for traces of you, he's vanished like smoke. She is left feeding on old memories while he starves the connection until it withers away. This is how he reclaims control, not by fighting for her attention, but by becoming impossible to reach. He turns absence into power, mystery into leverage, and her certainty into doubt. And in the quiet void he leaves behind, she begins to feel something she never expected to feel again about him: hunger. Number 3. Build an inner fortress. Starving her of your energy creates space, and now that space must be fortified. Most men collapse into distractions here, numbing the pain with noise, with meaningless flings, with hollow victories. But he does something far more dangerous. He goes inward. He treats his heartbreak like raw material, molding it into structure. Every hour that used to belong to her becomes fuel for self-construction. He builds routines with military precision, rising before dawn, training his body until it trembles, feeding his mind with philosophy and silence. Where emotion once ruled, discipline becomes law. This is how the Stoics conquered chaos, not by avoiding pain, but by mastering themselves beneath it. He no longer searches for her in his phone or his dreams. He pours that obsession into becoming unshakable. Every small victory becomes a brick. Every moment of restraint becomes steel in his bones. While she wonders if he is thinking about her, he is sharpening his mind like a blade, shaping his body into armor. His solitude ceases to be a wound and becomes a fortress. And soon, the pain that once consumed him becomes invisible. It is buried beneath layers of control, strength, and self-respect. She cannot see it anymore, and that unsettles her. Because the man who was broken has become something far more dangerous than a man chasing love. He has become a man who needs nothing. Number 4. Become a mystery again. Once she knew him like a map. Every thought, every mood, every vulnerability laid bare in her hands. There was no mystery left, and what is fully known is too easily discarded. But now, she knows nothing. He stops explaining himself to the world. He stops broadcasting his inner storms. He withdraws from the digital stage, deletes the trails she once followed, and becomes unreadable. His life becomes a closed book, and the chapters turn silently where no eyes can see. Mystery is magnetic. The human mind craves what it cannot decode, and the sudden silence gnaws at her. She checks for signs, sees none, and her certainty begins to fracture. Did he move cities? Is he seeing someone else? Did he truly stop caring, or is he becoming something greater while she's still standing still? The unknown becomes unbearable, and in her mind, he starts to grow larger than life. No longer a man she left, but a legend she can't quite forget. He understands what few men ever grasp. Visibility is vulnerability. The less she knows, the more she imagines. The less he reveals, the more her mind fills the void with fantasies, fears, and regrets. He becomes an enigma, not by pretending, but by vanishing from her narrative completely. And in the shadows where she cannot reach him, her curiosity begins to rot into longing. Number 5. Master emotional control. She expected chaos from him, rage, tears, desperate attempts to prove he's unbroken. But what she gets is nothing. No reaction, no emotion, no trace of the storm he once drowned in, and that unsettles her. Because nothing is more disarming than a man who refuses to flinch. He has become emotionally untouchable, not by suppressing what he feels, but by mastering how he responds. This is the essence of Stoicism. You do not control what happens, only how you choose to meet it. Every message he doesn't send is a victory. Every urge he resists is another chain shattered. Where his emotions once roared like fire, they now move like still water, calm, contained, impossible to disrupt. People underestimate how much power exists in restraint. Emotional outbursts give others control. Composure steals it back. And she feels that shift, feels the leash she once held turn to smoke. She can no longer push his buttons because he removed them. She can no longer provoke chaos because there is no chaos left to awaken. He has become an emotional fortress, silent, steady, and unshakable. And in that silence, she begins to see what she lost. Not just the man she knew, but the power he became by refusing to let her see him break. Number 6. Cut all hidden strings. Even as he appeared silent on the surface, invisible threads still pulled at him, checking her profile late at night, wondering if she missed him, imagining the day she might return. These are the silent chains that keep men bound long after the relationship ends, so he takes the blade to them, one by one. He deletes the photos, unfollows her shadow, clears the remnants of her from his world, not out of hate, but out of necessity. Because healing cannot happen while old ghosts still linger in the corners of your mind. This is the moment he severs hope, not love, not memory, but the fantasy of what could have been. He stops negotiating with the past, stops rehearsing conversations that will never come, stops waiting for her to realize his worth. That version of him, the one who waited, is gone. And in his place stands someone who has no desire to be chosen because he has already chosen himself. The Stoics taught that attachment is the root of suffering, and he understands now the pain was never her absence, it was his refusal to let go. Once the strings are cut, the weight disappears, the longing fades, the need dissolves, and for the first time since she left, he can breathe, not as a man half alive, but as a man completely free. Number 7. Create magnetic silence. Now that the strings are cut, something strange begins to happen. His silence, once born from pain, starts to radiate power. People notice it, the stillness, the self-containment, the way he moves through rooms like he's carrying a secret no one else can touch. He no longer tries to be seen, and that makes him impossible to ignore. This is the paradox of presence. The less he seeks attention, the more gravity he creates. She begins to feel it too. The man who once begged for her time now exists beyond her reach, and the absence grows heavy. Silence becomes a mirror, forcing her to confront the void where he used to be. She scrolls through old conversations, old memories, trying to anchor herself to who he was, but that man is gone. In his place is a figure she can't predict, can't read, can't control. Mystery breeds obsession. Stillness breeds desire. What once seemed like disinterest now feels like dominance. While the world screams for recognition, he thrives in anonymity. And it's that quiet confidence, the refusal to explain, defend, or prove, that draws eyes without trying. He has become the center of gravity in every space he enters, not by chasing attention, but by mastering the art of being untouchable. Number 8. Let time work for you. Most men try to win quickly. They want to prove their worth, spark jealousy, make her regret leaving as fast as possible. But he understands something deeper. Time is the sharpest blade, and it only cuts when you stand still long enough to let it. So he does nothing. He does not chase, does not compete, does not try to rush the return. He disappears into his evolution, letting the days sharpen him in silence. While she watches for cracks in his armor, he only becomes stronger. While she wonders if he misses her, he stops missing anything at all. Time, once his enemy, becomes his ally. Because silence stretched over days becomes distance, and distance becomes power. Every week that passes without a word makes her memories blur and his image grow larger than life. He becomes myth in her mind, a man who vanished and rose somewhere beyond her reach. And when regret comes for her, as it always does, it will not come like thunder. It will come quietly as she lies awake at night, realizing the man she discarded never came back, because he was too busy becoming someone she will never touch again. Number 9. Return as someone unrecognizable. Time does its work, and when she finally crosses paths with him again, she doesn't recognize the man standing before her. The softness she once took for granted is gone, replaced by a calm, distant presence that needs nothing from her, not validation, not closure, not even acknowledgement. He carries himself like a man who has already won a battle no one saw. His silence is no longer mourning, it is sovereignty. She studies his face for remnants of the man who once begged her to stay, but there are none. His eyes don't flicker when they meet hers. His voice doesn't tremble. He stands as if she were just another passerby in a world that no longer orbits her. This is the cruelest form of revenge. Not anger, not coldness, but indifference so complete it erases the past. And in that moment, something shifts inside her. Regret blooms, not because he punished her, but because he transcended her. He became someone new, someone untouchable, someone who would never again ask to be chosen. And as she walks away, shaken and silent, she finally understands. She is now just another stranger, looking at a legend. Number 10. Speak only when it moves mountains. Now he understands the power of restraint. He no longer speaks to be understood. He speaks only when his words can shift the ground beneath him. Where he once poured out his soul in desperate hope of being heard, he now speaks sparingly, deliberately, like a king issuing commands rather than seeking conversation. Silence has carved his voice into a blade, rare, sharp, unforgettable. People lean in when he talks now because they know he does not waste words. He no longer argues. He no longer explains. He no longer performs. Every sentence carries weight because it is born from discipline, not emotion. She remembers how he used to plead for her attention, and now even a single word from him feels like a gift she'll never receive. This is the final stage of his transformation, the death of the old self and the rise of the silent sovereign. He no longer needs to be heard to be powerful. He no longer needs to be seen to be unforgettable. He has become what the Stoics always sought to be: calm, detached, immovable. And the irony is this: the man who once begged for her love has become the man whose silence commands the room. There comes a point where you stop trying to be understood and start becoming undeniable. This journey was never about revenge. It was about rebirth, about walking through fire without screaming, about building yourself in secret until the silence around you hums with power. She left thinking she'd broken you, but she only freed you. The man she knew no longer exists. In his place stands someone she can't reach, can't read, can't forget. You no longer chase, you no longer explain, you no longer wait to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. This is the essence of Stoicism: to master your emotions, to detach from what you cannot control, and to rise without permission. And now, you speak less, you move in silence, and the world watches in awe. If you're done explaining your worth, if you're done bleeding for those who never saw your value, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence speaks louder than love. Thanks for watching Stoic Blessing. Join the Stoic Army, and I'll see you in the next one.